When you're shopping for a boat, you may consider stretching your budget a bit to get more features or a newer vessel. Perhaps it's a good move, but before you actually put up the money, have you considered all the hidden costs that come with buying a boat? Hi there, I'm Carolyn Sherlock, and on this episode of the Boat Galley podcast, I want to walk you through some extra costs that come with buying a boat so you don't find yourself facing some unpleasant surprises. Okay, today's episode of the Boat Galley podcast is sponsored by Lunatic, makers of a hydration spray bottle, an odor-free dishcloth, and a self-cleaning washcloth. Lunatic offers practical gear designed to save water and reduce waste. A water bottle that doubles as a pressure washer for your dirty dishes, a dishcloth that doesn't get stinky. I love them both. Please visit lunaticgear.com to learn more and use code BOATGALLEY to save 10% on everything. Lunatic, innovative gear for your outdoor adventures. Okay, a while back, a friend of mine told me he was thinking about upgrading his family's boat. They've been cruising for a while and they love their current 34-foot catamaran, almost a twin to the one Dave and I had, but they were starting to dream about something just a little bit bigger. He'd found a 38-foot cat that looked just about perfect. The price was high possible for them, about $300,000. It would stretch the budget, but they figured they could make it work. Then they started looking at the other costs, and that's when the picture changed. Buying a boat or upgrading to a larger one involves a lot more than just the sticker price. There are a number of hidden or easily overlooked expenses that can add up quickly. Not all apply to everyone, but most will apply to somebody. So let's start. Okay, there's sales tax. It's the first big surprise for a lot of people. Sales tax varies from state to state, sometimes even from county to county. Where we are is 7.5%, due in full when you register the boat. On a $300,000 boat, that would be $22,500. Florida does cap boat sales tax at $18,000. That's still a hefty check to write before you've even cast off the dock lines. Next is insurance. And this one can really catch people off guard, especially in hurricane-prone areas. In recent years, hull coverage has been running about 5% of the boat's value each year, sometimes more. So that same $300,000 catamaran, that's $15,000 annually with a large deductible. And it's not a one-time cost. That is every year. My friend was paying just over $3,000 a year for their current boat. So the upgrade would mean an extra $12,000 a year, roughly $1,000 a month, just for the insurance before you get to anything else. Okay, now on buying a new boat, there's a survey. Anytime you buy a used boat, you want a professional survey. Where we were down in the Florida Keys, pre-purchase survey for a catamaran typically costs about $35 a foot, plus the cost of a haul out and inspection. Usually $20 or so a foot. For that 38-foot cat, that would be just over $2,000. And that's before adding in engine and rigging surveys or oil analysis, which are often separate. So figure probably $3,000 by the time you're done with them. And that's on top of that little tax bill and insurance that you're going to get hit with out of the bat. Now, once survey's complete, you actually buy the boat. You paid the insurance, you paid the registration, etc. There's another layer. Upgrades. Almost every used boat needs some work to make it your own. This one that my friend was talking about had been a dock queen. It was well equipped, but clearly set up more for marina life than for cruising. They wanted to add a larger solar array, more battery capacity, a water maker, heavier ground tackle, and a supply of spare parts. They ran some quick numbers and realized these upgrades could easily add $20,000 before the boat ever left the dock. And I'll tell you, while they were saying $20,000, honestly, I think by the time you start adding up all those things and finding some other little projects, yeah, it could definitely be more than that. Now, then there's the issue of future hauls. The new boat had a beam of 20 feet compared to 14 for their current one. It doesn't sound like a huge difference until you start calling boat yards. The wider the beam, the fewer yards that can haul you, and the more expensive it often becomes. And that's not the only catch. Many of those larger yards don't allow people to live aboard while the boat's hauled. They also restrict what work owners can do themselves, which means you may be required to hire their in-house labor at their rates. It's one of those hidden costs that's way easy to forget when you're dreaming about a larger boat. Maintenance is another one. You can expect to spend about 5 to 10% of a boat's value each year on maintenance just to keep it in the same condition. That includes routine work, unexpected repairs, and the never-ending list of small things that seem to pop up. So, with this same boat, let's say it's now worth $320,000 after the upgrades. 5 to 10% would mean $16,000 to $32,000 a year. And any further improvements are going to be on top of that. My friend and his wife ran through all of this and quickly realized that while they could probably afford the purchase itself, all these additional costs were another story. They hadn't even factored in higher marina rates for a bigger boat, the higher cost of Bahamas cruising permits, or higher fuel use. They started thinking about time, the season that they might lose between selling their old boat, buying the new one, doing the upgrades, and working through the inevitable bugs that come with any new-to-you boat. To be honest, they weren't all that young, and they were figuring that, well, really, they probably didn't have more than maybe 4 or 5 more years of cruising left. Did they want to take one of those years in making a change? When you add it all up, it's not just money. It's how much of your cruising life you're going to trade to make the change in boats. Now, when they were looking at this boat, they were lucky. The boat was nearby. If it had been out of state, they could have added thousands of dollars in travel costs just to look at boats, plus delivery or relocation expenses to get the new one to where they wanted it. By the time they stepped back and looked at the full picture, not just the purchase price, but the ripple effects, it was clear that this particular boat would stretch them too far. And that was a good realization. They're still happy cruising on their 34-footer, still enjoying the same places they love, and still sleeping well at night, knowing that they're not in over their heads financially. That's the thing about boat buying. It's exciting, but it's easy to get caught up in the dream and overlook the details. I don't want to discourage anyone from buying a boat, far from it, but I do want to discourage you from buying one you can't comfortably afford. When you take the time to look beyond the purchase price, to think about taxes, insurance, maintenance, upgrades, and the less obvious stuff like fallouts and travel costs, you set yourself up for a lot less stress later. And if you're comparing boats, it really helps to make a checklist. Write down all the potential costs for each option, even if you're just estimating it. Seeing it in black and white gives you a much clearer idea of what you're actually signing up for. In the end, the right boat isn't just the one that ticks all the boxes of your dreams. It's the one that fits your life, your time, and your budget. If you can find that balance, you'll love every minute of it, because nothing ruins the joy of cruising faster than worrying about how to pay for it. Seriously, I hope you have a wonderful boat and great cruising experiences. That's it for this episode of the Boat Galley Podcast, where we try to make your cruising better. Thanks for listening to us. Do you feel a little better prepared for the cruising life? Please be sure to tell your friends about us.